Juke Joint. Happy to be back talking a little White Sox baseball with my guy Eric at Suited Forest. Eric, how you been, brother?
Good man, good man. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Yes, and we also have our good friend, our good pal from Bad Guy Radio, King Mac.
How you doing?
All right, and then we also bring in our special guest, Daniel Victor, from White Sox Daily. He is a baseball scout. He is a certified baseball scout, knows what he's talking about, and we're going to be talking some White Sox baseball today. Gentlemen, how's everybody feeling tonight?
Feeling great.
Feeling good.
Man.
Yeah. Ready to talk some baseball.
Yeah, you know what? That's the number one thing. Like, I've been itching to talk some real baseball. You know,
and this is a good show too, because this is going to be a lot of stuff. Like with Max, what his love and passion for the game is, matches with fans. Like, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, and I know we're going to have a few people in the comments tonight. And Daniel, you haven't met the crew of the people that we run with, the freaking scumbags, but they'll be up in here asking questions and cracking jokes. So we're ready for that. But, you know, let's just jump right into it. Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and why you do the things you do.
All right, let me just put a disclaimer on the fact that I am a scout. I don't get paid to be a scout, but I have been to baseball scout school.
There you go.
I was referred to that by a scout in the White Sox organization named John Kazanis, a good friend of mine. And, you know, I was reaching out to him frequently and a couple of other scouts in the White Sox system. And they kind of put me on a line to get set up to go to this scouting school with former general manager Bill Bavasi. And I don't know if you guys remember him. He's famous to be the guy that traded for Eric Bedard when he was the GM at Seattle. I think that one probably cost him his job. But Bill Bavasi runs the school, and he had several long-term scouts. Bobby Fontaine was 30 or 40-year scout. He was with the White Sox for a while. Rick Rope Ingalls and Jack Huey as well.
All right. Well, you know,
yeah, I mean,
no, I was just saying I'm glad you corrected me when I say a baseball scout. I meant you do scouting. You know, that makes more sense. But go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, you know, to those that don't know, Daniel too, like, goes to many of the minor league games, helps a lot of the minor league kids out, even homed a few over his career down there in the deal. So, like, he's all involved in the minor league stuff. It's awesome. It's awesome, man. You and your wife both.
This is true. We're a host family this year. I guess we're sharing. The teams are now paying for housing for the kids. They got a better deal than they've ever had in the past. The Kannapolis Cannonballers built some houses for the guys, and I believe there's going to be 8 in a house. But me and a couple other families are joining in. I believe that we are going to be the host family for the Latino ball players this year.
Okay, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. You give back to them. That's great.
Yeah, and Eric, I learned about that through you. You know, when you told me about what you do, you know, hosting a player. You know, so that's pretty cool. You guys do that.
Dan's one of the one that got me turned on to that deal when we were talking way back when. So
that's what's up, Matt. Let's just jump right into it, Matt, because I need you to get this out the way. Daniel, you say this is this has got to get done now, so we can get it out the way. So there was a moment in time where this young man right here, Yoan Moncada, was your guy, and you liked Yoan. You like what you see. Before you say anything, Mac, let Daniel tell us about when he was going to the games and seeing him in the minors. What was he seeing that made him look so good? Go ahead, Daniel. That's Yoan Moncada.
I still think he's going to be a very good ball player. You know, it wasn't just me seeing it. He was the consensus #1 prospect in the game. So Baseball America was seeing it. Fangraphs was seeing it. You know, it wasn't like it was just Dan Victor. But the bottom line is, every time I went and saw him play in the minors, he would show me a different tool One time he would, he'd go up and just hit his way on the base and then stole 3 bases in the game. Next time he showed me power. He looks and he's got a ton of swag. The only thing I did notice was, he seemed to suffer through a lot of little nagging injuries that kept him off the field. And, reportedly he had an affinity for Twinkie snack cakes and was eating a box of those every couple days or so. So maybe there were some red flags about him, but I still think he's got a lot of the tools, and I think he's going to be fine this year.
Mac, you respond, please.
I mean, actually, me and Dan used to talk a lot on Twitter, and then once I gave my opinion to Yohan, he kind of shied away because Yohan was his boy. But to me, I mean, tools is one thing, no doubt about it. But what a lot of people miss in baseball is the motor that goes with those tools. And when you have questions about Yohan Motor way back from the Red Sox days, I believe it's one scouting report. You can look it up. I'm not finna do the research for people, but there's one scouting report out there that said he had all the tools in the world, but the scout didn't know if he would ever put it together because it seems like he just go through the motions. That's a red flag to me. Like, you can be the most supremely gifted player in the world, but if you don't want it, you don't want it. And it's really that simple. And then when you have reports come out that they got to send, at the time, they had to send Alec Thomas' dad to Miami or whatever to figure out what this guy was doing, and so he can get in contact with the organization. To me, that says a lot. It's like, what do this guy really want it or he don't want it? And then when you have, don't get me wrong, I respect Baseball America. I respect even Fangraphs. My personal favorites is 2080 Baseball because they seem to have no biases, and it seemed like they get most of the information themselves. Well, I know for a fact, like Baseball America and some of these other publications, they don't get to see all these players themselves. So what they do is they lean a lot on information from the organization. And the organization is not going to tell you 100% the truth about a player, because they don't want to bring down his value or whatever the case may be. So when you lean heavily on what an organization says, you're going to get some misses. You know what I mean? And I've never liked the motor of Yohan Moncada. Never. Even when he had his 2019 season where everybody was praising it, I didn't want to seem like a hater. I was like, okay, he did fine, but let's see if he can keep it up. Let's see where the consistency is at. And when you hear reports, the White Sox didn't know then, I guess, coming out that when him and Devers was on the same team, Devers was blowing them away, and that the Red Sox like the Devers over Yohan Moncada. To me, it's like you're a billion-dollar organization or whatever the White Sox is worth. How come you don't know this information? How come you don't have this information available to you where you can make the right choice and not go by prospect rankings and go by what you're actually, being told in the industry, which is at that time, most people believe, not most, meaning the industry, but the Red Sox believe Devers was a better player than Moncada. You don't know that.
But they send, Mac, they send scouts out to the minor league games as well to scout the competition, to look for potential trade partners, and to scout guys that they think they might be interested in getting. So it wasn't like they were just going by his press clippings or what they read in Baseball America. And also too, now what you did say though, organization isn't going to bash their own guys because they want to build value for them, and it's not good business. I mean, that was the reason we heard for so long that Zach Collins was going to be the future catcher. But by the same token, I think the Latin guys don't necessarily get a fair shake because remember, they're coming over here, they're learning a new culture, a new language, making a ton of adjustments, not just on the field, but off the field as well. And then sometimes because of their the challenge with the English language, they get perception as aloof or cocky or arrogant, and it's not necessarily a fair thing.
I mean, I agree with that part, but it's like when you, and don't get me wrong, Abreu was way older than Yohan Moncada when he came over, but when you get the reports of Abreu is developing tendonitis in his first year because the guy is just simply working too hard, and you hear reports over and over again, about Yohan Moncada work ethic or people questioning his motive, to me, that's a red flag. And I get, you look at the guy, he's a physical specimen. There's no doubt about it. You see why people would be enamored with him. I mean, just look at he looked like a baseball player that could do some damage. He looked like somebody you want in your organization. But once again, where people overlook in baseball a lot of the times is the motor. And the reason they do that is because it's hard to put some type of number on it or equation on it. Like, it's hard to measure that. It's not something you really can measure. So they always overlook that and they look at numbers. It's the same thing that happened with Zach Collins. I remember Zach Collins was in AAA and everybody was talking about his WRC plus and everybody was talking about his exit velo and everybody was talking about his on base percentage. And I'm looking at these, him being a 3 outcome player, basically home run, strikeout, or a walk. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it. And that's why I respect 2080 baseball, because when he was drafted, Baseball America, Fangraphs, all these people were hyping Zach Collins, where 2080 baseball said, White Sox made a mistake. This is they didn't say it in his terms, but they were like, this is a garbage pick. And that's why I respect people like 2080 baseball, because they're straight shooters. And don't get me wrong, in the industry, when you straight shooters like that, you're going to take your lumps, because a lot of people might not want to deal with you because you're too honest. You know what I mean? And you're going to be shooting down some of their players, which they're not going to like. But I respect that.
Yeah, we was talking with well, I wasn't talking. I watched the show that they had with Ozzy, and he said that about baseball in general. It's not a lot of people with their own independent minds, a lot of yes men. I don't know if you've come across that or noticed that anywhere in your circles, Daniel, but he says a lot of yes men, and when you're not a yes man, you got a rough road.
There's a lot of yes men, and there's a lot of people, that are in baseball because of the good old boy network too. Not necessarily because they're the greatest coach in the world, they're the smartest baseball mind in the world. Baseball has not picked up on technology. They've been slow to bring that to the game, as opposed to other sports. And I think you can see that sometimes when you see, some of these relics coaching, and not, looking at judging guys by the eye test. Come on, you need to look at guys. You need to see them. High speed cameras. You need to see all the range of motion. Our eyes can only pick up a certain amount, in a certain time frame, and these cameras can slow everything down so you can actually see what you think you see.
Yeah,
I think they need to dive deeper, to be honest. I think not just with the technology. It's like baseball has kind of evolved, so it's no longer you play little league, then you go to high school, then you get drafted, or then you go to college, then you get drafted. It's no longer like that. The travel ball organizations have so much power now. And with that power, you have an opportunity. Like, you have an opportunity to go not to these games, not just to Perfect Game, not just to PBR, not just to the Wilson Premier. You have an opportunity to go to these facilities and watch these players quietly and see how much work that they're actually putting in, what they're actually doing, how are they actually getting better. Because at the end of the day, once a player get paid, he gets paid. But what's going to keep that guy motivated is his love for the game and his work ethic. And to me, that's what you need to be finding out. Because how do you have a player like Dustin Pedroia, who's 5'0" that can outshine players that's more physically gifted than him? You know how? Because his love for the game, because of his motor, because of how he goes about, putting in work. To me, those are the type of things they need to be finding out. And if they did that, they'll have way less misses than they have now, but they don't do that. And when you look at the game as far as American wise, at some point, I know we in America, these kids have all these opportunities, so we like to say, well, sports is not necessarily a career. Yes, it is. If it's a guy that knows he wants to be a baseball player, it's nothing wrong with you focusing on that guy being a baseball player and getting his skill set as high as possible. So just like they had these academies over there in Latin America, they need to start developing some of these academies over here in America for kids who really want to play baseball. So to me, baseball is stuck in a box. They're not thinking outside of the box. How do you make something better is by thinking outside of the box and not just inside of the box. And to me, that's the type of things they need to be talking about, and players need to, be getting better. Like Project Birmingham, that's great. I know eventually you're gonna get to that, but in general, they should have housing for these players. They should be developing these players year round. Maybe these players should get 2 months off a year. That's more than most people who work regular jobs get. They don't get a 2-month vacation. So these young guys, they should be developing year round. And guess what that will do? That will elevate the talent level, and that will help your organization have more good players. You'll have a larger pool of good players to choose from. But they're not thinking like that. They're stuck in this time warp that's not really helping. And I understand the numbers. I'm not really a number guy myself, but at the end of the day, getting a player skill set as high as possible is what matters the most. Making sure a guy is technically sound. And that's what people need to focus on. And it's just like when you see parents, they focus on the 12U baseball game, kid win a 12U championship, they happy. But guess what? If your kid trying to go to the MLB or trying to get drafted, nobody is asking what he did in the 12-year tournament or 12U tournament. They're looking at his skill set. They looking how he runs, how he catch the ball, his footwork when he field the baseball, how is his swing. That's what they looking at. So that's what you should be working on and focusing on is the player skill set. And that's to me what baseball is going wrong at. You need to
Well,
be focused on elevating these guys' skills.
well, let me ask Daniel a question. Can you break down like baseball scouting when you go to a game? Like say you're working on uh let's make a let's just make it a thing where you're a scout now, and now you work for an organization, and they send you out to go watch these minor leaguers. When you get to that ballpark, what are you looking for?
A lot of scouts tell you that you watch a kid get off the bus, you see how he conducts himself. Is he goofing off? Is he acting like he's a professional? How does he interact with his teammates? When he's doing his little drills on the side, when they're doing their flexibility and stuff, is he screwing around? Is he taking it seriously? When he's doing his sprints, is he showing a burst with the first step, or is he just going through the motions? It's a long season, and it's 100 degrees out there all summer long. So, if a guy's taking it seriously, you want to take note of that. You look at their footwork, how they get in position to field the ground ball. You look at the way that they throw the ball. Are they free and easy? Are they loose? How is their mechanics? Are they robotic? And then, you see how it all comes together on the field. But I like to see a guy that shows some athleticism, some speed, some power, arm strength, hands and feet.
Eric?
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, the off the bus stuff and the drills, and that's the kind of stuff that we're saying. Like, that's the stuff that can be the separator from, from the numbers or from the computer. It will. I like that
Yeah.
Cleveland Mac. Like, it's like first one off the bus or last one off the bus. First one on the field, last one on the field. Taking their, first one off the bench, last one off the bench. I mean, we talked about when we were with my dad last year down at the Royals game, and they were losing 1-0. And like, Elo and Robert were the last two, and the Bond was every deal from right field. Well, the visitor bench is on third base, and left fielder into the every inning. Like every inning, my dad has been all baseball, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So when we're talking about scouting, like we have a running joke, right? We have a friend of ours, and the joke is that he was a 20 grade outfielder. If I was to say that to you as a scout, what does that mean?
He's terrible.
That's absolutely bottom of the barrel on the scouting scale. 20 to 80. 80 is elite, and 20 is the dregs.
I mean, he's terrible.
And 50 is your standard. That's your baseline.
Okay, so 50 is the standard.
Mm-hmm. That system was developed by Branch Rickey back in the day with the Dodgers.
Oh, really?
As a matter of fact, he's a
Brand
genius.
Sticky.
He's a
Brand
genius too.
Sticky. That name is just synonymous with just one of the
Jackie
greatest
Robinson.
moments of my life. You know, just knowing that Jackie Robinson was able to break the color barrier in the major leagues. You know, um, so that's pretty dope. Lance Bricky did that. That's crazy. But yeah,
He's
so
a
that's so at 20. So 20. I didn't realize it was 20 to 80 for whatever reason. I thought it was a 0 to 100 grading scale. That's
no, it's
that's why.
No, yeah, it's 20 to 80.
Well, I know now, but I'm just saying it's like 2080, you know, is it makes sense. But back when I didn't know no better, I always thought it was 100. I mean, you know what I'm saying, 0 to 100 type thing.
I think like Dan's
And then
Dan's.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Ray.
No. Oh, go ahead.
I
wasn't
was
saying
just gonna say, like, like Dan just made an interesting point there, and I think that a lot of scouts, Mac brought it up earlier too. A lot of scouts lean on that, like that 50 average. There's a lot of guys that are scared to put that 70 number up there, that 65 number there. You go through and read the scouting report, they're like, 50 or 55, maybe 45. Like everybody's 45 to 55 has made the grading scale. Where they're just scared to even put, unless it's glaring, they're scared to put that 60 or 65 or 70 on some guy because they don't want to be the one that mislabeled them, because they don't want to be the one called out for mislabeling it, or whatever the deal. Like, you just don't see a lot of those elite numbers when you're going through the scouting reports, maybe as you used to.
Yeah, when I saw Yohan Moncada, and if I could do it, if I could throw a grade on him, I thought he would have been one of the greatest players to ever play when I saw him in Charlotte. So I was just like, so I get it. I get that. I don't know
Here's
how
the
you
thing,
grade
though,
the
Ray.
numbers, but
Here's the thing, though, Ray. They grades. It doesn't mean that they grades was wrong on Yohan Moncada.
No. I get it.
It just means Yohan Moncada could just be a mental thing, as far as his motor, as far as
That's why I was going to ask Daniel. The
It
tools
doesn't mean like Daniel seen him play. It doesn't mean what Daniel seen wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter. This guy had the mentality to put it together consistently. So what they see is what they see. It doesn't, because this guy doesn't perform to that level, doesn't necessarily mean that they were wrong. It just means the mental side of it wasn't there necessarily, because he
That's why I was
clearly
going to ask. Yeah. Hey, Daniel. So my question to you on how it's like, let's say we saying hitting. Is hitting hitting's a number, right?
Right.
Okay, and then fielding's a number, and then speed, and then arm strength, and there's one more, right?
Power.
Power that I see all the time. So like let's walk through Eloy Jimenez when you saw him in the minors. What did you see in the numbers? Like, how did they go together? Like, break that down for me.
I would say that Eloy was probably a 60 grade bat to ball skill, 70 grade power. Speed was probably a 40. And then defense, well, we've seen him play defense.
Manny Ramirez defense.
But no, I really thought Eloy, and I still believe in Eloy. Hopefully he can stay healthy, because I really think he could be the American League equivalent to, I felt like he could be an elite hitter, elite like Juan Soto elite. He doesn't have that same, he strikes out obviously a lot more than Juan Soto. Doesn't have that, elite bat to ball, but he was 340 hitter in the minors at certain levels. He never stopped hitting all along the way, and even his pop-ups were 900 feet in the air, and you could just see that raw power. Even when he hit a routine fly ball, it was to the moon.
Yeah, he's a bad, he's got a amazing bat. So let's keep it going a little bit. So Eric, when we talked about the show, right, and what we were trying to accomplish with the show today, let's talk about some of the prospects. Let's we're gonna talk about, we're gonna maybe not start ranking them right now. Maybe we'll just we'll start we'll do the rankings later on. But let's just talk about some of the prospects. that the White Sox have, right? I'm gonna get this ticker going down at the bottom, and then we're going to. I'm gonna pull up one guy. Let's get him out the way. So right now, the biggest thing on the White Sox outlook, um, the biggest name that I think is happening going around is Oscar Colas. Before I put it up, Daniel, when you saw him last year, just give us some impressions about Oscar.
I hate to tell you this, but I had terrible luck seeing Oscar Colas.
Oh,
When I went to Winston Salem for a series against Hickory, and he was sitting out. He had done something. I mean, strained something, pulled something, or whatnot. So I missed him in that series. The next, like 2 weeks later, I went to see them again, and he had already moved on to Birmingham. And then when he got to Charlotte, it was the last series of the season. I was working out of town and didn't get to see him then. So all of my reports on Colas I saw him on television just like anybody else that might have had MILB TV. But the things I've heard from him or about him is information I got from his teammates or information that I got from Andy Barquette, who is the White Sox minor league hitting coordinator.
Yep.
And I have great faith in Mr. Barquette's abilities. He was a minor league grinder. I mean, he worked his ass off. You know, he didn't have a huge signing bonus, and he made it to the big leagues. He got, he's in Baseball Reference as a big leaguer, so that means he did something. And he's kicking it around coaching, and I think he's brilliant. I think he's done a great job. I saw a ton of improvement year over year in the White Sox hitting prospects last year, and I'm looking forward as he gets more entrenched in his job to continuing to improve. But he tells me that Colas is an impact player in the big leagues, and I believe that.
Is Andy part of the Project Birmingham?
Andy, yes, Andy oversees all of the minor league hitting instructors at each level. They all report to him, and
Wow.
and he
That's
was.
what I thought.
But yeah, he's a smart dude.
Well.
No,
Well,
we nobody's doubting that he's going to get to the majors. We just say the whole thing is that a few of us look at Oscar Colas and say, he's right there. He's at the cusp. He's not ready yet, and that's an opinion that's shared by a few people. But Mac believes he's ready for right field. Get opening day this year.
I agree with Mac.
I do. I mean, that's why I say that's why I love baseball.
No, Mac, before you get your, I just wanted to put. I did pull from MLB. They had him a 55 hit, 60 power, 45 runs, 65 arm, 50 field, a 55 overall.
Pretty solid.
And he was the number 85 prospect.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If it wasn't for his age, he'd be ranked higher than that. I guarantee you, his age dings him some as far as when it comes to prospect rankings. Mm-hmm. I would almost guarantee that. If he was, let's just say he was 3 years younger, you're probably talking about a top 20 prospect, especially with his first minor league season. I guarantee you that. But
agreed.
Here's the thing. This is why I love baseball, and this is why I often. Nothing against anybody else. I see it different than a lot of people. This kid missed 2 years of baseball. If you're talking about baseball is all about time. I don't care if you're talking about hitting or fielding. Everything is time. For this kid to come in after missing 2 years and put up the numbers he did in the minor leagues is pretty impressive.
At three different levels.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. That is way impressive. I understand the strikeout numbers, but once again, you have to look at he missed 2 years and the timing of it. You just can't numbers are great, but you got to have context with those numbers. You just can't look at the numbers. You got to have a context with the numbers. And the fact that this kid missed 2 years and did what he did, that is impressive, dude. He's a serious kid. And if you look at what I look at is the fact after the season was done, he didn't take a day off. He was back at it working. These are reports you can go pull up yourself. These are facts. And if you look at where his body was in Japan to when he got to America and to where his body is now, that tells you that kid put in work. And to me, that's the type of stuff you have to look at. Now, am I saying this kid is going to be a superstar? No, but I believe, I'm not saying he's not or he is, but I believe he's going to reach whatever his potential is because of his work ethic. That's what I'm saying. And I believe in that kid because of that.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, Mac, I don't think anyone is of the belief that he's not going to make it or he's not whatever. I just think a lot of people are thinking, you know, including myself, that this may not be the year to start him opening day. You know what I mean? Like
I think it is.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I'm
Ed.
with you. No, I'm with you, Ray, and I've been on that boat, and I'm still on that boat. Like, I just don't think I don't think he's ready. If you're talking about 20% strikeout rate in high A, 25% strikeout rate in double A, 36% strikeout in triple A, the average player goes up like 15% when they move to the majors. So even if he only goes up 7%, you're talking strikeout ranges in the 30%. Like, that's going to be really tough for him to handle. And I know he's been working. I read it, and it's great. I love it. I know he's been working on trying to lay off of the pitches, but he has a huge chase rate, and he obviously has a huge swing and miss, and even a don't swing and miss. Like, and also, too, let me rephrase. If this was like when they brought Tim Anderson up, if this was when the club was in that era and it was a rebuilding club or like we were getting ready to see the deal, bring him on up. Let him take his lumps this year at the big leagues. Let him go through the same thing we saw Luis Robert go through with the slider, the same thing we saw Andrew Vaughn go through. Like, go ahead and bring him up and let him take his lumps. But this year, with the way the bench is set and the way the stuff is set, I'll take the back year of his eligibility, and I would start him in Charlotte if it was me, for sure.
Daniel, you made a couple faces there.
No, I would. I think I heard Andy Barquette say he might need a little bit more seasoning. I read that Andy Barquette had said that he'd like to see him have a little bit more seasoning. And like I said, I value his opinion, but at the same time, what that dude did in 3 levels, changing countries, changing cultures, moving from Winston-Salem to Birmingham to Charlotte, all in the same season. The K rate might have been high at Charlotte, but that was a really small sample size.
Yeah. 7 games is all it was. That's my other point. Like, he really only played 7 games in Japan. He played 7 games in AAA. Like, moving from AA to Major League is not for everybody. I get he's a little older and he's a little seasoned, but you're talking hitting off of, a AA pitcher and then going up against like Justin Verlander isn't the same thing. Like, that's a big, big jump, especially with a guy that has a bad chase history and has a bad swing and miss history. The stuff isn't going to get any weaker in the pros. Like, it's not going to get any less. Like, so to me, I would, with the way that, like I said, the way the roster's set, the fact they're trying to compete, make him go down and put up 1,100 OPS in Charlotte, because we all know he should be able to in Charlotte. If he can't slug 600 in Charlotte, I mean, that field is a boombox down there. Like, let him go down there and force his way on the squad. I don't see anything wrong with that.
But the way the lineup is constructed there, they don't really need him to drive in runs. He can take his lumps. He can learn from hitting the 7th hole or near the bottom of the lineup. They have enough guys to drive in runs. I think they would be happy if he just doesn't look completely buried in spring training.
Yeah.
And if he gets up there, they just want to see, series to series improvement. And
I think the only
and his defense is going to be way better than Gavin Sheets or anybody else they throwing.
Well, it depends on who it is, right? Like, there's some question out there on that as well. But I won't say that it's going to, obviously, it'll be better improved. But here's the problem you run into when you're talking about the roster and the lineup construction. Let's put him on the squad. I only have 3 bench players, okay? Because you got Sebi, right? One's got to be a catcher. You have to have a backup catcher. So I only have 3. So I'm going to carry Sheets, right? He's staying. Now I'm down to 2, and I have to have a backup fielder and somebody that can play center field. Like, I'm really limited to team's options there. When Colas, there's no reason for me to start his clock. Do you think for the first 90 days he's going to be better than Gavin Sheets? I don't think he's going to be Gavin Sheets out of the box. Like, I'm for sure saving his clock and making him force his way on the team.
You need Romy. You need Romy, right?
Well, you're going to have Romy or Garcia, right?
Romy or Garcia, right? Yeah.
And you got Sheets. When I really don't have anybody that can play center. This is why, I know that Oscar's done it a little bit in the minors, but I know that's not his natural position. The last thing they want to do on a kid, I'm sure, is be like, hey, go learn to play center field too with all the other pressures you're going through. I'm guessing that's not something they're going to want to do. I wouldn't assume they would want to do that. I know that Andrew played it a little bit, but it's been like since 2018 that he's ever been in center field. So who's giving Robert the day off? How am I sitting on my bench if Kolos makes the squad? It becomes a little trickier versus him starting the minors. The bench becomes a lot easier to set.
I mean, realistically, he's probably gonna play some center field, especially with Robert injury history. I mean, let's just be 100% honest. So they're gonna have to have somebody to play center field anyway, and it's not gonna be Gavin Sheets. And he's obviously more athletic than Gavin Sheets, and to be honest, probably a better outfielder glove wise and with his arm than Gavin Sheets is. So the bench problem is going to be the bench problem because the White Sox don't have depth. Unfortunately, Rick Hahn didn't build any true depth to this team as far as what you're looking for. So
I think there's plenty of depth there. Like if you put Kolos in the minors to start, you got Sheets and Eloy right field. Your bench can come Berger, Romy, and Billy Hamilton. Like you got infielders and you got outfielders, or you can come the kid from Houston. Like that lineup is better and more flexible than anything you can put with Kolos in the lineup right now.
What are we gonna get with Hamilton? I mean, Hamilton
he gives Robert a day off and he gives a substitution for Eloy or Robert in the 7th or 8th inning. Or you can bring Reyes, or you can bring the kid from Houston. Either one of the three is the reason why they signed him was for a backup center fielder option, right? Like you can. It don't have to be Hamilton. I was just trying to give an example. It could be either one of the three. But
well, since
I think Cole's bat right now is better than the kid from Houston and Hamilton right now.
No, I know, but Oster can't play center field.
I'm saying I guarantee you at some point this season he's gonna be out there in center field. I'm not saying he can play it or he can't, but I guarantee you it's gonna happen.
Well, that's the interesting point. And what's gonna happen there, right? Or do they let Andrew do it some? Maybe they put Benintendi back out there some. Because roaming around in guaranteed rate isn't the same as rolling around in Kaufman. Kaufman's outfield is huge, or whatever. It's not the same, in Chicago. So maybe they slide. That's what's interesting. That's the bench. You're on it right there. That's the bench debate is who is going to give Robert the day off.
Yeah, but you see, have we seen the same outfield once this spring? Not once.
Well, we've only had 3 games. No.
I mean, I don't think
he's moved it around a few times.
Yeah, he's moving it around. I don't think I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's smart to put Eloy in right. I just don't. I mean, right field, you need a little bit more athleticism than you do left. I think you look at Benny. He's played left all his career. That's his natural position, obviously. To me, the White Sox their outfield is going to be Benny, Robert, and Colas. I think that's going to be their outfield, if you ask me. And I don't see anything wrong with it. And I think when a player need a day off, or if Robert hopefully doesn't get injured, but you look at his injury history, he gets injured, then you're going to see Colas play some in center field. I think that's just going to happen. And is you have to look at it as his bat is better than any of the 2 guys that Hahn has brought in already. Like he offered more with his bat than Hamilton or the kid from Houston. So why would you already have a team that semi-struggling with power? I know some people like the Benny signing, but let's be honest, his slug was $3.99 last year. It wasn't great. You already have a team with power issue, and here you had this young kid who has power. Why wouldn't you use it?
Because he strikes out at 35% rate. Mac, not even minor leagues yet.
He missed 2 years.
Who cares? Well, then he needs 1 more year. Then he struck out 30.
I don't think he need 1 more year. I don't personally think he need 1 more year.
Well, you think all of a sudden he's going to go from striking out at 25% in AA to hitting major league pitching?
I think his strikeout rate is going to be lower this year, and I think he can hit major league pitching. I do.
Let him see that. Let's move on.
Yeah, let me see that one level, because his strikeout rate got worse and worse and worse.
And then everybody keeps talking about this one level. Do you know most of your elite talent plays in AA?
Your high side is, but they ain't better than the pitchers in AAA.
Just saying, like AAA is be guys to bounce back and forth between the major leagues.
They're major leaguers, though.
And a lot of them ain't major leaguers. Some of them are career minor leaguers.
There's some old guys there.
Okay, so let's talk about somebody you did see, and I know you saw this guy, Colson Montgomery. Daniel,
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Colson. I was surprised how much he improved series to series throughout the entire season, and he's got some intangibles that really you don't expect to see in a guy, a high school kid in his first year in full season baseball. He can pick up spin very well. He can recognize breaking balls out of the hand. He doesn't chase pitches. He makes good contact right now, and he's got a frame that's built for power. I think he's gonna grow into that frame, and he's gonna start hammering some home runs. I'm not worried about the fact that I think he hit 13 last year, but I think that he'll find his way into 25 a season or better once he's maxed out. I don't know that if he has the ability to stay at shortstop.
Daniel, stop taking all my questions. I had 2 questions. Like, can he stick it short? And is the power going to come? And you already hit both. Like, stop taking the questions.
Yeah, I think the power is definitely going to be there. And I don't know about the shortstop position.
Where do you see him?
What's that?
Where do you see him?
Third, then. If
Yeah, probably third, maybe even corner outfield. But yeah, but you know what? I was telling somebody on a different pod that I said the same thing about Bo Bichette not being able to stick at shortstop, and he's still hanging around. So maybe I was wrong.
Well, he is an error machine, though. So you wasn't.
But yeah, and as he builds out too, you would think that
too, bro.
as he builds out too, it's going to take away a little bit of his flexibility at short, right? And I think they're going to trade the power for maybe his defensive ability there, I would guess.
Yeah. What about let me see what his numbers were. I did pull Colson, but
I like Montgomery though, because for him to be that young and his strikeout rate to be that low and his eye to be that good, that's very impressive. I like him. I don't to me, I like home runs too, I understand, but he doesn't necessarily have to be like a huge home run hitter to be successful, you know what I mean? Because not too many people at his age got that eye and make contact the way he does and don't strike out at a high clip. That's pretty impressive.
And especially what you were telling us before the show too. He was like a 3-star athlete and didn't put a lot of time into baseball, right, Dan?
Right. He just devoted himself to baseball full time, last year in his second season in the minors, after his draft year. So for a kid that, wasn't one of them perfect game travel ball kids playing 108 games across the country, in a season, I think what he did was really unbelievable.
Yeah, he kind of like a baseball baby.
And I don't have it up here yet, but if you separated second half too, the power started to show more in the second half on the minor stuff.
I think I did. Did I pull a little bit of his? No, I couldn't find it.
I hit to at a 60. That's pretty good. His power 55. That ain't bad.
Yeah, but we got so we had a.
They got him at 38. Huh?
Well, no, because he fell out. So I had to I found this like later on. You know what I mean?
He fell out of what?
He fell out of the top 100.
I think it depends on where you're looking. I saw he didn't make the Fangraph top 100.
Right.
No, I think he's still with MILB or whatever. I think he's still in the
But they had
I think he's in the 20s.
They had him at a 60 hit of 55 power, 50 run, 55 arm, 55 field, overall 55.
You know what's interesting about Fangraph? I don't understand why they wouldn't like this kid. I mean, his on base percentage for him to be that young, and they was one of the first publications that raised about on base percentage. You would think they would love this kid with the on base percentage he has, especially for his age.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ray, I want to skip ahead. Can I skip ahead a little bit?
Go ahead.
Because I'll tell you, the darling right now among the rankings is Ramos, right? Like, he's the one flying up all the charts. He went from outside the top 10 of the White Sox organization, and now I've seen him number 1 in the organization. I've seen him number 2. I've seen him number 3. I think he made Fangraph's top 30 overall, the one they just released not too long ago. So, Dan, I'm really interested in what you've seen from him.
I liked him from day one in Kannapolis last year. I saw him. They were playing against the first series I went and saw was against the Rangers low A team. And this dude's got some juice in his bat, man. He he hammered a ball. It was an absolute moonshot, and it was a game-winning situation. Bottom of the ninth inning, and he hammered what would have been a 3-run homer. I think he hit it about 5 feet foul, but I mean he hit this thing to the moon, and he pimped that thing. And I was like, man, I really dig this kid. And he, you know what, for a power hitter, he does not have a high K rate at all. And he played defense. I was at the beginning of his time in Kannapolis. He was primary DH. They wouldn't put him out in the field, and I was like, man, he must just have a terrible glove. They're hiding that glove because why would you put a top prospect, primary DH? But maybe he was gimped up or something, and they just didn't. They tried to let him play through it. But when he played second and then he played third, he looks like he can hold his own in the field. He doesn't look like a butcher. So, I'd like a lot about Ramos. And that's another one that went straight to Arizona after the season ended and worked his ass off all off season. He didn't take any days off. And you could tell. I mean, That guy got out of the gate last year. If you look at his April, May statistics, it was insane. I think he hit about 400 in April.
I like that.
Wow. It looked like he last year in the minors hit 22 home runs. Is I correct in saying that?
Yeah, it's 22.
22 home runs, 86 RBIs. 55. Okay.
Yeah, majority was high A, right? And about
Birmingham was a big jump for him.
Yeah. How many games did he get in Double A?
He's only 20 years old though. So.
He probably got 29 games with Project Birmingham, but he probably played in half of them. So I imagine probably.
Yeah.
So
that's where prospects go to die for the White Sox. They say it's Birmingham.
Double A.
Yeah.
But when we had Taylor on the show, from a pitching standpoint or whatever, Taylor Broadway now unfortunately with the Red Sox, the wrong colored Sox, but he was saying that he felt. I'd be interested in your taking this, Dan, too. He felt because he went through the 3 steps. He started in Kannapolis, went to Winston-Salem, then went to Birmingham, and he thought the jump to Birmingham was the biggest jump by far, talent-wise.
Yeah. What about Jose Reyes, aka Popeye? What did you see out of him?
I love Jose Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, what I said, Reyes.
Yeah.
I mean, Rodriguez.
That's all right. That dude has unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He has great twitch. He's super athletic. He's a small frame guy, but he's got great twitch. He's very fast. He can move laterally both directions. He loves to play baseball. He is he's a dirtbag, man. He loves to play ball, and his bat to ball skills are insane. He can put his bat on everything, and sometimes that is to the detriment of a young hitter. When you can put your bat on everything, you're sometimes hitting the hitter's best pitch or the pitcher's best pitch rather than waiting for one in your meatball zone, and then you're putting it in play. You're hitting it softly to the opposite field, popping it up, rolling it over. But so sometimes his aggressive nature can get the best of him in the batting average department. But Coach Barquette often says that is, having a plan of attack is kind of the last thing that some guys develop. So what he can do, just putting the bat on the ball. If you look what he did his last 18 games in Birmingham, I think he hit 11 home runs. He went absolutely bonkers. He didn't hit any the first half of the season. I think he hit 1 or 2 home runs. And then his last 18 games, he hit 11 home runs. So he caught fire. And then he broke his hamate swinging and missed the rest of the season. But I'm a huge Jose Rodriguez fan.
What if I said, Dan?
Too, right? He got a little speed, like base running speed.
I believe he led the organization in steals last year.
Yeah.
I think he stole 40.
I think you're right.
I think they said I thought I saw somewhere where he had 70 over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Eric.
Dan, what would you say if I said he's the number 1 prospect in the White Sox organization?
I would say that I was talking to the Cannonballers bat boy, who is the guy who is the host family with me, his mom and them with the Latin families. And I was telling his name's Eli. I was telling Eli that I could make a case for Popeye being the number one prospect in the system still. You know, of course, he's not the glamour pick because a lot of this stuff is biased by not only age, but signing bonus and draft position as well. So, you know, I tell some of the guys that, you know, they'll ask me how come they think, you know, they're being overlooked as prospects or non-prospects, you know, because they got a crap bonus or they got signed late. And I said, man, you know, the deal is that the kids that get drafted in the first round have to show the organization they can't play, where the guys that got drafted in the 20th round got to prove to the organization every day that they can play.
I like that. I like that.
Bonus,
like
baby.
that. Yeah. What if I said, you know, I could see Popeye playing second base and being a 2020 guy at second base. I mean, do you think that's crazy?
Not at all.
Yeah.
2020 guy. I like it.
I think you could be a 2020 guy at second base. I mean, I think you get 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases at second base, which is, you don't find too many guys that can do that at second base in the major leagues.
What about so we've been talking a lot about fielders. So let's talk about when you go to look at a pitcher. So what are you looking at as a scout when that guy walks out of the dugout and he's heading to the mound? Like, do you start there or what?
I'm looking for arm strength. I mean, arm strength gets so much more reverence in today's game than it did back in like the 70s and 80s. You know, back then they wanted guys that could pitch. Now they want guys that can just blow up the radar gun and maybe not necessarily know what area code they're going to land it in. But if you can put up 100 on the radar gun, you know, no one is going to dismiss you as a prospect. But if you throw 91, 92, and that's where you're sitting all the time, you know, you really have to show that you can pitch before people take you seriously as a prospect. But you know, you're obviously, I look for arm strength, and I'm a radar gun junkie. I got to admit, I always get agitated, even when a guy puts up numbers and looks like he has good location. They have to show me a lot of pitchability before I put them ahead of a guy that can sit 96. But you know, I'm looking for that. I'm looking for good movement on their breaking stuff. I'm looking for athleticism. I'm looking for projectability on their frame. A guy like Matthew Thompson's got that whole package, you know. He's got projectability. He's got athleticism. He throws hard. He's got a really nice hook. The only thing with Thompson that's ever gotten in his way is sometimes his emotions get the best of him.
He's like, he gets down on himself, you thinking?
Way, way down on himself. But hopefully he's improving. I mean, he was a high school kid, you know. That's a big transition for these kids. They were all everything their whole life, never failed in baseball, and then all of a sudden they get to low A where they're, you know, against D1 college kids, and they should be, you know, college freshmen. And his ERA goes from 0 for the last 2 years of, you know, high school, where he's like a 0.43 ERA with 200 strikeouts and 100 innings, you know, between the 2 years. And all of a sudden, you know, you see them with an ERA of 5, and they just don't know how to take it.
What about the number 1 pick last year, Noah Schultz? How did you see him?
This kid is going to be legit. This kid he's going to be a top 100 prospect, guaranteed. I'm calling it right now. By the midseason, he is going to be a top 100 prospect, and in a couple of years, I think he'll probably be one of the top 10 left-handed pitching prospects in the game.
Wow.
He's got
that kind of stuff, huh?
Yes. And the thing is, he was trained by a guy named Mark Sheehan. Mark Sheehan was a Tom House disciple. Tom House is the guy who built the big unit. He turned Randy Johnson into the big unit. He's the guy that hooked up with Nolan Ryan in California after he left the Mets and turned him into, you know, the Ryan Express. Tom House and Mark Sheehan are biomechanical experts. They know how to preserve a guy's arm and make sure he maintains his health. And so he's been working with Mark Sheehan since he was 14 years old. And, you know, Coach Sheehan was telling me that when when he came and saw him the first time, they can do some tests, and he said he can do some tests just by genetics and doing some range of motion tests and some agility and strength tests that he can tell a kid what he thinks his maximum velo is really at any stage in his development. And he told the kid when he was 14 that he was going to throw 99 miles an hour.
No.
He said he was 5'9" then,
He's grown. He's 6'9" now, huh?
Yes, he's enormous. But
Tom House.
this dude has he has potential for 3 plus pitches in the game right now. His slider is supposed to be one of the best you've ever seen.
That's what I was going to say. He was a first slider pitcher, right? Basically, until this offseason. Then his fastball jumped what, like 5-6 miles an hour already since they signed him?
What happened was when J.J. Lally, the area scout in Illinois for the White Sox, saw him early in the season, he was throwing 97. Early in the season for Oswego High School. And then he got mono. And when he got mono, he tried to rush back to help his team. And he probably was still, under the weather and winded and didn't have his stamina. So when a lot of the pro scouts were coming to get their pre-draft looks, he was only, 91, 93. But now he seems to have the velo, where he's getting 95, 96, with plenty more in the tank. And I was told that his two-seamer has so much movement on it that the TrackMan sensors at the ballpark get confused and think that it is actually a right-handed slider.
Oh, no.
So that's another recent change, right? He was a 4-seamer heavy. Now he's like 2-seamer heavy.
Yeah, it sounds like that's something that he's been working on. But so I was talking, about a breakdown of his pitches, and he said, he's got that slider that, they describe it as a disappearing slider, 2,600 to 3,000 RPM, super high spin rate, and the ball just dances. But then they said his changeup is also really, really good. And they said the 2-seamer might end up being the moneymaker when it's all said and done.
So
that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
The 2-seamer has a little tail end to it, moving left to right.
Supposedly, it looks like a damn right-handed slider. So,
oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, did you guys see what Joe Kelly said?
Joe Kelly said. Yeah, I read about it. I saw Joe. He said
he said he was giving a hot crap at how come Schultz wasn't in the major league camp. He said his stuff was already better than his.
His stuff was already better than his. Yeah. That's crazy.
I thought that was pretty cool for a vet to give him a shout out.
But when you saw him,
the big kid they drafted, the young high schooler, the righty, they gave a decent amount of money to
Jared Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly, that kid was all everything in high school. He was, he was the man in high school. And he's been more of a slow burn than I would have thought. Physically, he's pretty much, he doesn't have the projectability. His frame is kind of where it's going to be. It's kind of maxed out. But he throws hard. He's got a advanced changeup, which is unusual for a kid, a high school kid. He needs the third pitch to be consistent, and he's not throwing a ton of strikes. I think he probably threw 58, 59% strikes last year, but he showed some flashes. I saw some good starts for him, and I don't know what it is. I mean, why he's not throwing more strikes, because he's not his delivery's not bad. It's pretty tight, and he seems to stay online for the most part. He doesn't have any funky mechanics that would lead it to be difficult to repeat. But I think he's going to have a really good year. I think him and Thompson both are going to have a good year this year.
Yeah, let's. I got a couple more names to throw out at you. Probably guys that you've seen. What about Jordan Sprinkle?
Man, it sounds like I love every player in the system, but you're naming all my guys.
Well, that's because I follow your stuff. I gave Ray a cheat sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, I said bring up this name and watch Dan. Bring up this name.
Yeah.
All right. The White Sox had first-round follows on Jordan Sprinkle going into his junior year at UC Santa Barbara. So they thought, conceivably, if he would have replicated his sophomore season, he could have been a first-round pick. His bat kind of backtracked a little bit. I don't know whether it was because of the pressure of it being his draft season and he wanted to maybe cement himself. Sometimes guys put pressure on themselves to perform because they want to, make sure that they get to be first-round pick. But this kid's defense is absolutely unbelievable. He is super quick twitch. He's got a strong arm. He looks like damn Ozzie Smith at shortstop.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
I've been watching the system for since 2016. I've been going religiously to the White Sox games in the minors, and he is the best defensive shortstop I've seen. Any team, any level.
And how many years you saying?
Since 2016.
Dang. So it's the best you've seen in the last 7 years. That's pretty good. There's been some guys come through there.
I've seen some really, really good ball players come through. But
to include Yoan Moncada. But I'm just saying defensively.
Yeah, and I think the bat has a chance to. The bat is what's going to determine what his. I think his speed and defense will get him to the big leagues, but his bat is ultimately going to determine what his role ends up being, whether he's a full-time player or just a utility
guy. I got you. What about Sean Burke?
Sean Burke pitched today a little bit. I got actually his mom sent me the video of his pitching today because I didn't get a chance to see it. So I asked her how it went, and she sent me the video, which was very cool. Sean Burke is a super athletic kid. He was a high school hoop star as well. So very athletic, very big frame kid, 6'6" right-hander, well put together, throws hard, touches. I've seen him touch 97. I heard he touches 98. But usually he sits 94, 95-ish on a good day. Good curveball, developing slider. So he's got 3 potential pitches that could make, that would make him an ideal starter. He's got the frame for it. And he's also got the maturity and the mentality. I'm a big Sean Burke fan.
Yeah, Ray, I had this written down too. I think it's a perfect time to bring it up. Like, one thing that I'm not as big into the scouting stuff as Dan and Mac and stuff knows theirs, but one thing I really like the organization has done is overpaying the slot values in the early rounds to get some of this more talent in. So you're talking about Kath, Montgomery, and Burke. Like, they overpaid 3 spots, right, in the first 3 rounds. Last year you saw it with Schultz. Then they went and got the 2 SEC pitchers, Cannon and the kid from Georgia. Like, they're overpaying.
They did it with Jared Kelly too. They did it with Jared Kelly.
Jared Kelly, yep, there too. So, like, the fact that they're trying to get willing to overpay, like, they spent $573 over. They got taxed $430,000 the last 2 years, and willing to overpay for some of the talent. And I like that little strategy change. I like it.
I mean, for a while, they were stuck in the mud. You ask me. I mean, I like Jake Berger as far as the kid. He, that's for him to have 2 torn Achilles, battle back. You know what I mean? And if you ask me, a lot of people disagree with this, but I think he should be fighting for the third base job with Yoan Moncada. I know Yoan Moncada defense is way better, but to me, Jake Berger bat is not like way less than Yoan Moncada's bat. You know what I mean? But they was drafting Berger, Sheets, guys like that, which they thought were pretty safe picks. You know what I mean? I wasn't a fan of that. To me, you look at the top organizations and you can kind of see what they're doing as far as with their draft, and they're going after young, athletic kids who have, higher ceilings, which everybody love to say. They love to say ceilings for some reason. But to me, that's the best draft strategy. I mean, go ahead.
Do you think these organizations are just taking more of a gamble because they have more stability than the White Sox, or are you saying they're just willing to gamble more than the White Sox?
I think they were ahead. I think they were ahead analytically and everything. I think they were ahead. I think the White Sox were stuck in the mud forever. They've been a backwards organization for a while.
I think too, you look at the White Sox, if you just look at them, period, they like to get guys that they can rush to the majors a lot of the time. So I think when they take safe picks like Zach Collins, Sheets, Berger, players like that, they feel that these players are really close.
Nick Madrigal was another terrible number 4 pick.
Fine. You know, they feel like these guys, Garrett, Crochet,
Fulmer, Birdie.
Yeah, Birdie.
Yeah, like
they feel like these guys are close to the majors and they feel like they can rush them up or whatever to fill a spot. Where you have teams that take risks like the Braves, the Dodgers, the Red Sox. They don't care about rushing these kids to the majors because they know if they need to fill a spot, they just spend the money to do it. You know what I mean? So they can fill their, minor league system with guys that's athletic, have high upside, and let them do what they do. See how they pan out. You know what I mean? Whereas the White Sox, they're not going to spend that type of money necessarily. So they're going to take what they feel are safe guys that they can probably rush to the majors. And that's why to me, like Wes Calf, Colson Montgomery, that was probably their best draft in the past 5 years. The fact that they was willing to take a chance on 2 high school guys like that. And I hope they continue down that path, to be honest, because if you look at the White Sox best players that they've gotten, as far as positional players, you look at TA, he was an athletic kid. He wasn't, a high school or anything, but he was an athletic guy who played up the middle. It was pretty much a risk on him because if you look at him, he was a baseball baby. He started playing baseball as a junior in high school, and then he also went to a JUCO. So that was a pretty high risk for them. Those are the type of players to me that you need to go after if you're trying to get superstars. I mean, you look at Luis Robert, even on a down year, or if you want to call it a not so good year, the kid's still putting up a decent OPS. He's still putting up a decent slug. To me, those are the type of players that you should be going after. And they missing that in the international market too. I don't think they go after enough of these high upside guys. Like they stay in the middle tier or whatever, which is
this is perfect. This is perfect segue right here. I'm just going to bring that up next. So that's another switch I love to make right there. They made this year instead of going after the 2 or the 3 guys, they brought in 18 kids this year in the draft. Like I like to see that, and a lot of younger kids too.
Yeah, I mean that's good, but when you have what year was that? I could be messing up the year, but it was one year where you had Eloy. I'm not sure if Eloy, whatever the Soto year was like a ridiculous year in the international market. When you have that type of year, you have to go get those. You have to get one of those top guys. You know what I mean?
They did. He's playing center field for the White Sox right now. It cost him $25 million.
If you look at, I don't think that was a Soto year though, because I think Soto and then was 16 when they signed. But I mean, he was an older kid or whatever. But that's the type of moves the White Sox got to make. So when you look at like the Dodgers, you look at the Braves, you look at some of these other teams, even the Rays, who people love. That's where they do their best work at, is in that international market, and that's where a lot of your good talent come from. So you have to eventually get some of those top guys. Nothing wrong with playing in the middle tier level. I understand that, but when you have high quality talent like this, and baseball has kind of made it easier for the White Sox, where they ain't gotta compete too much with the Yankees and the Red Sox and all that because it's kind of a cap on it now. You have to start getting some of those top guys. You can't just keep metal.
I would say the White Sox have been way more successful in the international market than they have in the draft. I mean, if you look at their top 10 or 12 prospects now, the majority of them come down there. Who is that? Marco? Who's down there, Dan?
Marco Patti.
Yeah, he's down there. And, another name, one more name before we probably got to wrap it up soon. But one more name I wanted to talk about that's flying up the charts is that
that's an under radar guy. I want to see
Christopher
under radar
Mina.
Oh, Christian Mania.
Yeah.
I saw him a couple times. He's got a really good curveball. He's got a really good curveball. He's a lean frame kid, so he's got some room to add some muscle and some arm strength. But when I saw him, he was 91s, 92s. I didn't see the arm strength. Now I've read some stuff that people have said that he touches 97. I even texted a couple teammates just to try to confirm it because I was like, man, I don't ever remember him throwing that hard in the starts I went and saw him. So maybe he's got it. But the curveball is really really a nasty pitch. That was typically his out pitch when I was at the games. When he got to Project Birmingham, I think he was one of the 3 youngest players in AA. So that's kind of a big deal when you're moving a kid like that.
How old is
I think he's 19 right now. He might
Okay.
he might have turned 20, but yeah, he was one of the 3 youngest kids in AA. And Baseball America thought highly of him when he was getting lit up in the Arizona League the year before. So so he's got some legitimacy to him for sure. And one of the guys told me that if he had to bet on a Latin guy as a pitcher prospect, he said he would put Mena ahead of Vera.
I saw he's flying up the charts. Him and Ramos both are just flying up. You know, if you go through them all, those 2 seem to be the 2 biggest movers.
So, Daniel, in your opinion, what are the White Sox doing with this Project Birmingham thing?
I think they just needed to shake things up, try something different for a change. Step outside their comfort zone, and I think that they learned something from. I guess they liked the returns that they saw at Schaumburg the year before. When they had all the top prospects in the same place, and all the coaches were able to devote time to them. Whereas, if you're at an affiliate, you got your set of coaches, but, not everybody, people learn differently. Sometimes a different coach can open the door that, one guy might not necessarily be able to open for you. And then at the same time, since they were all young guys, they were all A-ball and high A guys moving up to AA, it gave them a little bit of break toward the end of the season when they're typically getting winded because there were so many guys on that roster. They were able to rotate them in and out and get them some wind in their sails. But some of those guys really were impressive. Man, Wilfred Veras skipped entirely over A plus. He skipped over Winston, went there, and he looked like the AA hitter. He put up some pretty good numbers for a short period of time. And he's got
Who's that?
Wilfred Veras.
Wilfred Veras. Okay, yeah.
I believe that's Tatis's cousin, and his dad played in the big leagues for the Red Sox, so he's got some genetics to him as well. Got some league DNA. So, but he's got some power. He can hit.
He's only 20 years old.
Yeah. When we started to do the podcasting thing last year, myself, Eric, and Elise. That was one thing that fascinated me when the White Sox moved with this Project Birmingham model, and they moved all these prospects, and they said, "Hey, everybody, come here, and we're going to focus on getting you guys, make you guys future White Sox." And that's kind of what I'm thinking. What they're thinking, like this is going to be how you're going to be able to go and become a future big leaguer. Starting here, this is the ground. Laying a foundation, and I don't think anything's wrong with that.
Getting them all at the same page on a younger level than trying to correct stuff when they get to the majors or almost to the majors.
Yeah, so I do have a question for you, Daniel, and we're going to just kind of start to wind this thing down. A couple more things I want to cover. I want us to cover as a show. So, in your opinion, the guys we just talked about, some of the bigger names, where do these guys get assigned? So let's just talk about, let's get the big one out the way. Is Colin's going to be with the big leaguers, in your opinion?
This year?
Yes, start of the year.
No, I would. Colson would probably be in AA to start the year, but
no, not Colson, not Colson.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Colas.
You meant Colas. Yeah, I think
Colas. Yeah, my bad.
Okay, Colas. I'm saying he's going to break camp with the big club.
Okay, I can respect that. Then you said Colson isn't going to be in AA, in your opinion?
I think he'll probably be in AA. To be honest, I'd like to see him go back to Winston, smash for 4 to 6 weeks, and then move up to AA just to get some confidence. Because last year when he got to Project Birmingham, it was late in the season. He was winded, he was gassed, and he didn't put up huge numbers. I'd hate to see him have to go there and learn, even though I know he's mature enough to learn and fail there and work his way into it. I'd like to just see him go back to Winston, hit about 360 for a month, and then move up.
Okay, what about Calf, West Calf? Where's he going to be at?
I would bet he's going to Winston-Salem to start. High
Okay.
A.
Yep.
What about let's go Ramos?
Ramos double A.
Okay. Let's go Rodriguez.
That's interesting. He tore the cover off the ball and at the end of double A, but then broke his hamate. I don't know whether they'll put him back at double A. I'd like to see him go to triple A and see what he can do in Charlotte with the ballpark.
You really like
Yeah,
him.
no, I
Yeah.
think this is
You light
awesome,
up
Dan. Yet exact same thing I have. Since I don't think Colos breaks with camp, but I want him to put him in triple A too. I think he's ready. It wouldn't surprise me if he helped the team later on this year.
Me neither. He's a stud.
Who else we talked about? Sean Burke.
Schomburg, triple A. He'll be ready to go though. I think he'll be one of the first names that they call if they need a starting pitcher.
Really?
Yeah.
Over Martin, Davis Martin. You think Davis Martin starting he's going to be on the 40?
He's definitely on the 40. I don't
He's
know.
already there.
The
Yeah.
26. The 26. I mean.
I'm not sure. Eric, who they got penciled in for the fifth start?
It depends. What happens with the suspension guy? That's what it all depends. What it all boils down to right now. What happens if Clevenger's going to be able to pitch or not? Like right now, Martin would be starting in AAA. So him and, to your point, Sean Burke would be the first two guys probably to be those swingmen or whatever the deal. I'm interested too what they do with Jimmy Lambert.
That's what I was going to say. We got one more with Jimmy.
I sound like they're going to leave him in the pen. Sounds like they're going to keep him up in the pen. But I was interested if they were going to make him a swingman or not. But it sounds like they're going to keep him in the pen.
Hope they do keep him in the pen.
And hopefully Stever can recover from his injury and be ready to go.
Yeah.
Did you like Steven when you saw him? Because when we seen him last year on his few appearances, we were kind of, it wasn't like rave reviews.
That was not the guy he was in the minors, though. I don't know whether it was nerves getting the best of him, knocking the butterflies out. But he wasn't. He was letting loose and throwing 97 with a frequency when he was in Winston-Salem and also in Birmingham. And then when he got to the big club, he was 91s, and I think he was just trying to aim it, make sure that he was over the plate, and he got lit up against, was it Cincinnati that they hit all them home runs?
Yeah, I think it was.
But that dude, that's another guy who was pretty tough on himself. He does not take failure well.
Now, in my opinion, after seeing him over all these years, a guy that I thought takes it hard on himself, but no longer does, is Dylan Cease. Was Dylan one of those guys you thought maybe he got down on himself a little bit?
I don't know, man. When he was in low A, I think he was 0-10 with Kannapolis the year I was watching him in low A with them. His numbers were good except for the win-loss, but he seemed to be a pretty happy-go-lucky kind of kid.
Oh, okay. It's just sometimes I look at him, I'll be like, dang, he looks like he's just like, he's mad. Maybe he just gets upset, he's disappointed in his performance or something. But he doesn't even do that anymore. He's very, like he, I guess the experience and knowing what he can do and what he is, he's kind of like just focused in now. We love.
Might be the best pitcher on the team right now.
No, I believe he is. Well, I'm not gonna say he's right now he is, but I believe Michael Kopech would be a better pitcher than he is. That's my opinion. What do you think, Daniel, about Michael Kopech? There's a little bit of a little White Sox, foreshadowing.
He got an attitude.
He's a stud, man. I was a big Kopech guy when he was down in. He threw a damn pitch 105 miles an hour when he was at high A.
Really?
Well, they always say that the Greenville Stadium has a hot gun, and I was there this year, and I saw some pretty big numbers on the gun. Guys getting the triple digits with the frequency. So I don't know if it was a hot reading or not, but we know he can throw 100.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
but I mean, the thing I love about him, and we talk about it all the time, is that like the difference between him and Cease. So Cease's slider is like devastating. It's an amazing pitch with the knuckle curve, but his fastball is flat, right? But then you come with Michael Kopech, his fastball moves. His, he's got the slider, he's got the curve, So, to me, that's the separation point. When Michael really figures it out and that fastball is moving and that curve and all that, he's going to be a better pitcher, in my opinion. That's just how I feel about it.
Well, I say this. I mean, to me, Cease has kind of been a bulldog. He stays healthy. Can Kopech stay healthy? That's the thing. Can he stay healthy? We don't know if Michael can stay healthy. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Like Cease, he makes his starts, and I mean, last year might have been his coming out party. As far as just being consistently dominant.
Yeah, but you got a lot of White Sox fans out here just saying he's going to regress. So
I mean,
I don't know why people wish on people's downfall. I think he's going.
I don't think they wishing on his downfall. I just think people look at his fastball and the fact that against some good teams he didn't do too well, and they be like, "Well, is his season really believable?" But I mean, right now you got to get a guy his kudos because right now you have to say he's probably as far as numbers wise. When you go back,
yeah, I mean, I do. Like, I love him. Like, we know he was a Cy Young runner-up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's legit. It's just, in my opinion, I think Kopech, and when it's all said and done, 5 years from now, Kopech will be a better pitcher.
I think this is big seasons for Robert, Kopech, and Eloy. If you ask me, I think these are big seasons for those three, and it's all for the same reason: is can they be stay healthy, and can they be consistent? I think that's the reason it's big seasons for those three guys. You know what I mean? So, I think if those three guys play well, then Ray, your prediction. Well, I don't know if you predicted them or not, but you thinking them going to the playoffs? If those three guys play well, I think they go to the playoffs. I think if we
I'm with you, Ray. They're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, I believe they will be in the playoffs this year. I just need to ask. Let's go, Daniel and Eric and you guys, Mac. I need to just go through some names for the season outlook. Let's just go. So, do we think Eloy does he give us 30 this year?
30 home runs?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Eric, you're saying nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I actually might have put that over under probably higher, 35 maybe. 40 wouldn't shock me. Yeah, I mean, his bat's a ball with that power. It's something you don't see every day. There's not too many guys out there. There's not too many guys out there.
Dan, you may not know this about me. I don't know. We've been for a good while, but I love Raylo. Like, watching that kid in Charlotte, I fell in love with him in Charlotte, and then seeing him struggle with the big club, and then find his way to being who he is coming out that pen. Like, I legit think he'll be closing more often than not this year without Liam being it. That's my prediction. How do you feel about Raylo?
He was a stud prospect for sure, man. When he came over with Lucas Giolito, and I thought he was going to succeed earlier along in the process as he did. But pitching is like that. There's a learning curve to pitching in the big leagues, even more so than hitting. Like I was saying, Randy Johnson didn't blow up until he was 25, 26 in the big leagues before he took off.
What about Nolan Ryan? Similar.
Yeah, but at least he was a high school kid and he was up in the big leagues young, so he took off a bit earlier. But yeah, it's a one step forward, two steps back, and then hopefully at the end of the day they take that 3 steps forward to compensate for the 2 they took back. Look what Cease did in the COVID year. He wasn't all that impressive, and then he took off this year and spread his wings. So And with closers too and relievers, if you look at most of the closers in baseball, almost all of them were minor league starters. That's typically the progression. When a guy can't make it as a starter, they make him a bullpen guy, and then his quality of pitches, he sticks to the 2 good ones that work for him, and they get even better in short usage. So absolutely.
That's Liam Hendrick's story all the way. That's why I feel like Raylo is the same.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
There's many. You know,
Yeah.
Smoltz even toward the end of his career, or anybody. You know, Raylo's all of a sudden touching 100 all the time. You know, when he was never doing that as a starter, but now that they know he's only going to throw 15, 20 pitches an inning, or whatever, he's just letting it loose.
Yeah,
I like his mentality. I mean, he could have gave up after having.
That's the most respectful thing about him, or what I respect the most. Is
me too.
He had reasons to quit, pout, no longer going to be a starter, wasn't even going to make the big league team, had to come back and had to work his way through. I don't know. I don't want to ever say anybody in the major league is working through the junk, but through the junk innings, he was like the last guy out of the pen. He was a guy coming into, the games that didn't matter. You're down 4 runs, you need somebody to eat some innings, and he worked us all the way to where now he's probably in the closer conversation. I don't think he's going to close much personally, but he's in the conversation.
I think
people forget as a starter when they first got over, he was better than Gio as a starter.
He had a better first year, whatever that was, 18, I think it was, 18 or 19.
That was the year that Gio had the highest ERA of any qualifying starter in baseball, though.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a good year.
Yeah, something like that.
But Raylo did flash a couple times that rookie year. I think he struck out like 15 against Detroit one time, or 16. It was something crazy. And one of his outings, I was like, oh man, this kid's got a shot.
Not Gio giving up bombs.
Yeah, Gio is ridiculous. So let's go. Jake Berger.
I like Jake, and I think Jake should get an opportunity to compete for a job. If you ask me, that's my opinion. I know his defense is not great, but the Phillies taught us a lesson last year that defense might not necessarily be the end all be all. Give me the bat, man.
So what?
The bat.
Go ahead.
What's funny here is, if I had to guess the opening day roster, I think Jake makes it, but I think he makes it instead of Colas. Like, I think they go with Sheets and Eloy out in the outfield, and that opens up a bench spot for Berger to make it on the squad. I think that's how, to me, the bench goes Berger, Romy, and one of the outfielders. I think that's what the bench ends up being.
Man, that kid just played like every game is his last game, man. You
see that shot today? I mean, that shot today was something else.
Yeah, he lit the ball up. What do you think, Daniel, seeing Jake so much, over the last couple of years?
I would put his over-under on 250 at bats, and I think he'd be right around there for the season. I think he's the kind of guy that the Sox could like move at the deadline, and then all of a sudden he just has some monster season for somebody else, and then we're like bitching about why we traded him.
There you go. That always happens, right? Yeah. Let's go.
He does have the one more option year left, right? So they can swing him back and forth. He can fill in. I mean, that sounds like now he can fill in if Eloy goes down, Makata goes down, Vaughn goes down, Sheets goes down. He can take some of that DH. He's probably going to end up being that swing man, I'm guessing.
I mean, his athletic ability is horrible. So, I mean, I think he's limited to what positions he can play. Maybe third and first. That's about it. I think his athletic ability is not that good at all. It might be worse than Eloy's.
No, he's actually, it would surprise you if you could look up his speed. He's actually a plus.
I'm not talking about his speed. I'm just talking about his ability to play the field.
Yeah, but obviously he can play first, third, or DH, which is going to open up. In those guys go down, he can jump in any of those spots.
I
think that's what he'll be.
I don't think he's like Sheet where he can play a corner outfield spot.
No. But like if Sheets goes down, Eloy can play the corner or somebody else, and he can take the DH from there. That's what I meant. Like you can move him around.
Oh, okay,
yeah. I'm just saying, if those guys go down, he can come up on the roster, and somebody else can fill that corner spot, and he can go to the DH or whatever the case may be. He can go play first, and Vaughn can go on the outfield for a game.
What's weird about Berger when he got drafted? I mean, Dan probably can speak on it more than me, but what was weird about when Berger and Collins got drafted? Really, people viewed them as positionalist players because even though they played a position in college, third base and catcher, nobody really believed that they were going to be good at those positions defensively. So I think them being successful was heavily dependent on their bats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got a couple left-handed arms. We was talking about injuries. I got a couple left-handed arms, Bummer and Crochet. Anybody heard anything about these guys? What's going on?
Bummer's supposed to be injured.
Well, you know, Bummer, he stays injured. So
I think he's fine. I think I don't know. Dan probably knows better. Crochet, I think I heard late April rehab, May rejoining the team was kind of the plan for him. Is what I read.
I've heard nothing.
Yeah, is Bummer injured?
No, I don't think Bummer's injured.
well, you know, he came
I
back
mean,
late last year.
that deal they signed them for was not bad. You know
Yeah.
what I
No,
mean?
it's a fantastic deal, and like that's when we talk about some of the stuff. Like that's one thing they've done well. Now, unfortunately, you know, the guy we talked about earlier, the extension might not work out so well. But like if you look at some of the deals in White Sox history, the reason why they got Moncada and Kopech from Boston wasn't because Castillo was an elite pitcher, which he was, but he was an affordable elite pitcher under club control for a lot of years. The reason why they got Eloy and they got Cease was that when Connor's contract was so club favorable, they were able to get 2 higher prospects out of those deals. Like when you're talking about extending people, look at TA. TA's making like, you know, probably a third of what he should be making this year because of the deal he got extended on. So like that's another thing when we talk about overpaying in the draft, adding the 18 kids, extending the contract. Like I just love to see those principles being put in place. Now, whether it all works out, it's just good to see. It's good to see.
I don't think Gary gonna be a starter though. I don't think
So where's Lenine Sosa going to be at? AAA?
Yeah,
More than likely.
yeah. I think he's kind of stuck. I'm afraid he's going to get ran over a little bit like Sanchez did a little bit, right, Dan? I mean, do you see that possibly as a fear?
Oh, like Yelbert?
Yeah.
No, because Sosa can hit. Sosa can field well, second, third, and short. They ding him for his arm strength, but his fundamentals are so good that he can compensate for it by his footwork and his he's on point, man. And remember, he's still young too. I think
Yeah.
Yoma won a Gold Glove, don't he?
I was just different Yoma. Talking about the kid in AAA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm just nervous for him with Ramos, Rodriguez and Montgomery coming. Like that's going to be a battle for those spots, or whatever. Does Sosa get left out of that mix or not?
But you send him down to AAA, he hits in that ballpark and puts up huge numbers. And then if we are in contention at the deadline, then maybe that's the kind of guy you flip somewhere and get somebody to pay up.
Yep. That's one thing people are going to have to pay attention to that might not know. It's like the Charlotte deal. It's a boombox down there, man. Like you better put up offensive numbers down there.
Yeah,
I love that ballpark.
Don't worry about pitching numbers there either. I mean, you can't judge a guy by his ERA in Charlotte. It's a terrible place to pitch, and they don't do them any favors because that grass is also like the damn U.S. Open putting green. Every ground ball gets through for a base hit, and every fly ball leaves the ballpark.
Yeah, so I've heard nothing but same thing from everybody I've ever talked to.
It's a beautiful place, though. It's like right downtown. I love it.
It's the best backdrop in all of mine.
I love it. Yeah, I do. I love it. I was telling somebody how beautiful it. Matter of fact, I was telling them guys when I was on the last podcast, like how beautiful that park. I love that park. Just to go.
You're looking for a lefty lefty bullpen guy that might contribute this year. Andrew Perez. Andrew Perez throws hard. He's got a bulldog mentality. He very mature kid. He actually, when I watched them come through the ranks together, they were at the same level the whole time. But him and Bennett Sousa I kind of like rated them together in my rankings every year because I thought of them as almost interchangeable parts. They just look different. But as far as their stuff, their arsenal, they were very similar pitchers. Now I know Sousa had a rough ERA, and I believe he got DFA'd and then claimed by somebody else just like a week ago.
Yeah, I think he's Cincinnati, I believe.
Okay, but yeah, but he's a big leaguer, and I think Perez is a big leaguer too.
They like him.
Adam Hazley,
a young guy who bust out last year.
That's what I was going to ask. Hold on, Adam Hazley,
Chicago guy.
What about which one?
Adam Hazley. Hold on. Oh, what's his name? Mac.
You're talking about
DJ Gladden.
Yeah. Mac and I were talking about him.
Yeah, is he gonna? What you think? He gonna have more success this year?
I hope so, man. He's got some serious swing and miss, but he's got big power. I told he kind of reminds me of young Miker Adolfo with the swing and miss, but the huge power. So he's got a shot, man. He hit the ball. I saw some Twitter account was posting exit velos, and he was one of the guys with the highest exit velos in low A.
Yeah, Mac, that's what you and I were talking about on the side that one time, what he was putting up.
Yeah, you know what's funny about him is his father. He's from Chicago, so his father, they was letting all the like the minor league dudes, do his hitting for him, and he wasn't having any success. And his father was like, "Okay, back to listening to me."
What do you think he starts? You think he starts high A?
Yeah, I would say IA. But Mac, his father looks like he could play in the NFL.
Yeah, it's rather a big boy. Yeah, it's a big boy, no doubt about it. It's just funny hearing his father say that because he used to like he the one kind of trained his son a little bit, and then of course when he got to the majors, the minors, those guys took over. And then he was like his son 2 years was struggling, and he was like, okay, back to listening to me.
DJ was our host kid last year.
Yeah, he's a good kid though. He played on actually his White Sox area code team was pretty solid. They had a lot of decent amount of solid players on that team the year he played on the area code team. It was pretty good.
Yeah, he was with the ACE program too, which is very cool. So that'd be kind of cool to see a homegrown kid, that was in the ACE program get to the big leagues. So
yeah, that would be pretty cool. I always wonder why the White Sox don't take more advantage of their area code team because they get a lot of talent on their team, but for whatever reason, they never draft the kids that come like Gavin Lux, who got injured today. He was on the area code team, and they didn't. Actually, he should have got drafted with Zach Collins.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I think they got
real quick. I just want to get a couple names out before we can wrap this thing up.
Yeah, let's go.
Just names that we saw last year. Hazley,
a former first-round pick, but he looks like a fourth outfielder or depth up and down shuttle guy at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. What about?
So he's not even on the 40. So they couldn't even bring him up at this point. I mean, they could, but they would have to cut him.
They have to
put him back in.
Somebody, take somebody off.
Yeah.
We've seen Victor Reyes this spring a few times at bat. What's going on with him?
Same. I would say the same. Wouldn't you, Dan? I think he's the same. I think he's Charlotte, and that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe if somebody gets hurt.
Yeah, he doesn't move the needle for me.
What's up with Yoki? Yoki pretty much the same too.
Yoki Cespedes?
Yeah, he'll probably start in AAA, maybe, right, Dan?
I would think that he'll probably start in AAA, but yeah, that's another kid. He's older. He's playing at par age for AA, so it's not like you could say, "Oh, he was 20 and that was the reason he was striking out." He struck out 30% of his at bats at AA. But he's got some tools, man. That guy can play great defense, and he's got a cannon, probably the best throwing arm, probably the best outfield throwing arm in the whole entire system.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, Charlotte basically lost their outfield last year. I mean, because Blake's gone, right? Miker's gone. Yeah. They lost somebody else on the outfield. So when you see some of these signings that people get all hung up on, like it was more for depth and to fill out the Charlotte squad than it was necessarily for making an impact on the White Sox team.
100%.
There was a catcher last year that was moving up the rankings and
Carlos
made a couple moves.
Yeah, Perez.
Yeah, Carlos, man. Carlos is like the Nick Madrigal of catchers. He does not strike out, man. I think he was 83 at bats in his AAA season before he had his first strikeout last year. And he's starting to add some power. And his brother catches I think his brother's with the Rocky system. His brother's been like a quad A kind of guy, but I think his brother might have led the damn AAA in home runs 2 years ago. So obviously there's some genetics there as well. I think.
Well, here I'll give you another
Carlos
chance to talk about
too.
Somebody you like, Dan. What about that Hackenberg?
Yeah, I like Hackenberg a lot. Defensively, he's ridiculously good. He had some rough defensive efforts at the end when he got moved up to Birmingham, but I think it's just because of the long season, and it was his first full season after the draft year. But That's a kid, man. You would think he was developed in the lab. His, his father, his father played D1 football. His mother played college volleyball. His brother is Christian Hackenberg that played for the Jets. He was a second rounder, a quarterback. Um, Another brother plays in Major League Soccer, and then his little brother is a pitcher at, I believe, Georgia Tech, and a stud freshman. Or he's a stud sophomore. So Hackenberg, man, that kid's got all the genetics when it comes to athleticism, and he can play defense, and he's got some power. The bat to ball is the verdict's out on how much he's going to hit. But with a catcher, you don't necessarily have to hit if you've got a great glove and a great arm.
What about AJ? What's his name? Alexei, yeah.
Alexei was a stud. When he was with the Rangers, he was part of the trade that sent Yu Darvish to the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
So he was one of the key components in that deal. And when I saw him in low A with the Rangers organization, he was one of my favorite pitchers at the level at the time. And I remember seeing him in Kannapolis, and who was down? Rodon was down on a rehab assignment, and he was pitching against Alexei, and Alexei was matching him, man, inning for inning. He looked Alexei looked really good. He didn't have the polish that Rodon obviously had coming down pitching against low A guys, but he held his own, and I really like AJ Alexei. I thought that was a smart move, and a cheap smart move. So
okay,
go ahead.
Gregory Santos.
That's a kid that has a big power arm. Statistically, he has not the stuff is way better than the numbers. That's a guy that could throw 100 miles an hour, good slider fastball combo. But his strikeout rates were kind of pedestrian in the minors, even with that elite stuff. And he also had a really high walk rate. But that's kind of, if you're going to take a gamble on a guy, that's the kind of guy you want to gamble on. Big arm strength, big stuff.
Is it like the Jose Ruiz situation where he just got big arm, but we just keep trying to see if he's ever gonna click?
Yeah, there's so many guys like that running around the ranks at AAA and AA. But yeah, if they ever click, they could be something.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, Dan, you said it earlier, and I'm gonna let you just say it one more time, loud and clear. That what are your expectations for the Chicago White Sox this year?
I think the White Sox are going to make the playoffs. I was calling 92-70.
Wow, look at that, Mac. 92-70. Yeah. He's not. He says nothing. But no. I think that's
man. The White Sox got too many question marks. You ask me.
But I mean, you got to think. We could talk about that on another pod. But what are you thinking, Mac? Are you going to give a prediction now, other than 82? I mean, 81 and 81.
I told you 81 and 81. They mid.
Right.
They mid.
So we're gonna go straight down the middle.
The team is hungry, man. They're hungry. They want to impress.
I heard hungry last year, Dan. Then you what Giolito say last year? I'm developing the killer instinct.
He came in here weighing damn near 300 pounds last year too.
All of this old stuff they were talking. I just think, to me, the most important thing for the White Sox is Eloy, Robert, and Michael. If those guys perform well, play well, regardless what happened with the record or if they make the playoffs, the White Sox looking up, because we need to see Robert be that guy. We need to see Eloy be that guy. And we need to see Michael be that guy. I think TA has a big season to me, because I think TA has something in his mind. He has something to prove, which is always a good thing for TA. He's just that type of dude. And I don't think Cease has the same season he has last year, but I think he's going to have a really good season. I don't think it's going to be a huge drop-off or anything like that. I just think when you look around the league, the White Sox, they have talent, but it's question marks to that talent. And you look at the rest of the league, when you look at the Astros, you look at the Braves, you look at the Yankees, they just have guys that can get the job done. And they have, power, slugging, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
We got it too. They just haven't been doing it.
Well,
We got the guy.
also, is it possible that we're going to have 3 consecutive years of injuries like we had the last 2? The law of averages has to be on the White Sox side to be healthy.
Yeah, that's what I would like to know.
It
Are
has
the
to be on our
Dodgers
side.
people now? Are the Dodgers people now freaking out because Lux got hurt? Are they going to say that like they need to fire their entire training staffs and everything needs to go down? Or like you think the Rays are upset that Glasgow got hurt? Like,
dude, they did Alan Thomas completely wrong in that whole deal. Talk about
I agree.
A fall guy. You take the longest tenured guy and you fire him because of pulled muscles.
Yeah.
And they didn't draft this kid.
They should have took his kid. But
how do you not draft? How do you not draft? That's what I'm talking about. Some of the stuff the White Sox do is absolutely great. This guy has been taking batting practice with Harold Baines and all type of people like that. And you've seen this kid since he was 3-4 years old. You don't draft this kid.
Hey, we got Brandon Boston's kid, though. We got Brandon Boston's kid.
Yeah, come on, man. And this kid went in the second round. And you don't take this kid? Come on, man. Come on.
So Eric, what is your outlook right now? What is our numbers looking like with the big books?
Yeah, like 83.5. Small
83.5.
83.5 is kind of where the line's been on the Vegas stuff. And second choice, slightly behind the Indians. I've seen it as small as tied in one book, but Indians have been a small favorite in most places. But keep in mind there, like we won't know until the last week because with the Vegas books, they don't ever take the handcuffs off until the last week. They don't want people hammering stuff that might know trades and might know stuff. So like right now, they'll take bets from us, but they ain't taking bets from the sharps just yet. So that last week, you'll see a big shift in the lines and in the odds. But I love Dan's outlook. I think they're 89-ish, 90-ish. I think they're right there. Of course, Robert and Eloy's health matters, but to be honest, the difference between a 21 club and a 20 club, which is pitcher health. We need 135 starts out of our starters. We need them to average 27. We can't be having the bullpen shredded like it was last year. I mean, everybody that had an arm was up last year. I mean, we saw Bennett Sosa has been cut. He spent the majority of the year up. We had to bring Lambert up. Had never been in the pin. Banks was up. Did fine, but like a career minor leaguer. Like the bullpen was just shot. The rotation was hurting. Like to me, if you're looking for the difference between the White Sox making the playoffs and not making the playoffs, how healthy does the pitching stay? Yeah, how healthy does the pitching stay?
Hey, we're going to see the real Andrew Vaughn this year too.
And is
that was going to be my closing. That was going to be my closing question.
Is Hendricks going to play this?
Sorry, man.
Daniel, no. Let's just get it out the way because here's the thing. Like for the last 2-3 months, myself, Eric, other people have been just banging the table saying like Andrew Vaughn this year is going to be a better baseball player than a lot of people think. Matt calls him Opie. So he says Opie ain't gonna do nothing.
No.
Andrew Vaughn. He seems like saying I'll let him defend himself after I keep slandering him right now. But Andrew Vaughn, when I watched that kid, I never seen him. Well, I've seen the clips in the minors, but since he's been with the big club, I've seen him struggle. I've seen him change his approach. I've seen him change his stance. I've seen him, but what I've never seen him do was change discipline. Like he is the most disciplined eye at the plate that I've seen in a very, very long time. And I just that to me, for him, the mentality at the plate, his approach takes him a long way. And he's got pop too. So, but go ahead.
Discipline. What you mean?
Yeah.
He don't.
When you say discipline, what you mean?
He doesn't like make that swing away all the time. Like he has a K rate, but he's not up there. You know what I mean? But
no, you don't.
Go ahead.
He has a very.
I thought you meant a great
very low K rate. He has a very low K rate for the man that hitting the ball as hard as he did. I mean, very low.
Yeah, he did.
Go ahead, Dan.
But
You can go
what I'm
first.
saying when I say he's disciplined, yeah, when I say he's disciplined, real quick, when I say he's disciplined, I mean like when he goes up there with a plan and he doesn't deviate from that plan. Like legit, he looks for his pitch constantly, and when he sees it, he hits it hard. But go ahead, Dave.
No, Major League Baseball is the batter pitcher matchup is a race to strike one, and whoever gets to strike one first, has the advantage. If they go ball one, then the hitter's got the advantage. They go strike one, the pitcher's got the advantage. So it's really a race to strike one. And Vaughn is definitely a very disciplined guy with a plan when he's at bat. And they asked him to do a lot of hard things in the big leagues in his first 2 years. He came up, he skipped entirely over AA, skipped entirely over AAA. Then they put him out in a position that he probably hadn't played since, if he had ever played it in his life. Hey man, we're just going to OJT you out here in the big leagues and try to teach you to play. He's not fleet of foot. He's not a super athletic kid, but he is a professional friggin' hitter. And I think, now that he's back at his natural position, this is the guy that, absolutely destroyed college baseball. And, he was right on par with Rutschman, that season. And look what Rutschman did in the big leagues, last year in his time up. And I think that we're going to see the real Andrew Vaughn. And I think that, he could go 300, 3,100, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely. I mean, if you look at even Fangraphs, Steamer, Backcourt X, all those projections or whatever, they got him 23, 24, 25 home runs.
We lost your
sorry. They got him 23, 24, 25 home runs, or whatever. So, like, to say that people don't see it, of course they see it. And probably the best thing that I was impressed day one with Vaughn is just his balance. I mean, you hardly ever see the guy, like, out on his front foot. You don't see him swinging one-handed. You don't see him bouncing him off the dirt. Like, he reminds me so much of when Mags first came up. Like, he just that smooth stroke to right field, behind the baseball at all times. Like, it's just he's in an elite company when it comes to, hard percentage of balls put in play along with the low strikeout rate. Like, those are the kind of numbers they just project. There's no doubt. Like, he's just going nowhere but forward.
Yeah, the only thing that can hold him back on the home runs is the launch angle. He tends to not be a big towering fly ball hitter. He hits a lot.
Yeah. A lot of line drives, but I think those will turn into few more line drive home runs. But the other thing I love about him too is we've seen the big hits. I mean, he took Chapman deep in that game, like in the ninth inning. He's had some huge at bats. Like, he ain't scared of the moment. And I think you're right. I mean, I don't think I'm going to put 330, 100 on him, but if he hit around 300 and he hit 25 home runs this year, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
Nope. That's what I'm saying. And Daniel, I got jumped on by a couple people, but I had him.
Chapman, though. I just want to say Rollins Chapman wasn't a Rollins Chapman last year, but okay, I understand.
But I had him when I did my lineup this year. I said, you know what? I don't want him at my number 2 hitter. No. That's where I had Andrew Vaughn.
Two thumbs down like Roger and Ebert.
That makes sense. It actually makes sense. I mean, because you want a guy that can, make contact, move over your leadoff man, even if he makes an out, you want it to be a productive out.
That's exactly how I felt.
That makes sense. I really don't have a problem with that one. But the only thing is, you'd like him to be a little bit more fleet of foot in the 2 holes.
Yeah, for sure. That's the reason why everybody's happy to see Robert there today. Robert was there today, and people are like, yeah, that's probably going to be it. But I had Vaughn just because you can't fuck up with Vaughn at bat with TA on the base. You can't, because he's.
Well, then the problem is then you saw the exact problem with Robert today. The reason why you and I don't know. I love him. I mean, he might be the second most powerful guy on the team. But do you really want him up in the ninth inning in a situational spot? Today he gets up, TA on second, nobody out, ground ball to shortstop, first pitch, ball out of the strike zone. He's just not going to be that guy. He don't put together good plate appearances. He don't put together good at bats. He's more of a reactor. Now he's talented as can possibly be, but that only takes you so far.
I like the fact that if that same situation comes up, I like Andrew Vaughn against any pitcher to put the ball in play hard somewhere and move TA along. with no outs.
Man.
Yo, 100%. Like Robert's
that's-
chase rate is what it is for a reason, right? And if,
Mhm.
the one-handed flips to the right field. Like hopefully that stuff goes away this year, but it is
I
what it
hope so.
is. Discipline is it is.
This the
closes
crazy
his-
part though. Robert do all that chasing, and Vaughn is supposed to be this disciplined guy. And go look who get on base more. Why is that?
Who got on base more last year or in general?
In general.
In general.
Yeah.
Who gets on base more?
Robert probably gets on base
Like
more.
Robert had, we can say Robert had his down year, and his OPS plus is 2 behind Vaughn, and Vaughn had his.
Oh, it was behind him? I thought you said it was above him.
No, it was 2.
2 behind him.
Oh, it's behind him. It's behind him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Go look at it. It's
do me a favor, Matt. Go look up what Vaughn does against good
Vaughn
pitching, and go look what Robert does against good pitching.
And then Vaughn in the 2 spot. This is slash line. You tell me, is this impressive or not? This is last year. 267, 319, 407, 725.
Okay,
60,
how many at bats?
That's 66 games. 267. I mean, AB's 273. That's garbage.
7 what?
I would call it trash, but trash is for
7 what?
Plastic.
7 what?
His what? OPS?
7 what? What was his OPS?
725. That's garbage.
That's what? Top 100 in the league?
That's garbage, bro.
And top 100 in the league is garbage?
Let me tell you this. Robert will put up a 725 OPS swinging and missing in his sleep. His OPS would be 740.
I don't know. I just think
I thought you said that Vaughn's was higher already last year.
At least. I said his OPS plus.
I think that we made some good points tonight about Andrew Vaughn and where we think he's going to be.
Yeah, it's just
Mac doesn't see
when you talk about like the lineup construction, like the things that people don't understand is like they're like not to just. I mean, I disagree with what Dan's saying a little bit about the fleet of foot and the stuff. And Ray, I know you're on this line too, but when you're making the lineups, you want to make them. Who is going to give your best at bat to me in the later half of the innings? Who do you want in the 8th and the 9th inning? Who do you want that guy to beat? Do you want that closer or that elite setup man? Do you want him trying to beat Robert, or do you want him trying to beat Eloy? Or do you want him trying to beat TA? Like, to me, TA and Eloy are the 2 best hitters. Like, by far. I think by far that's who I want him to beat first and
that's
second.
why they should be 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the next deal. Now, you can flip a coin. If Robert's hot and Robert's Robert, bat him second. And if Vaughn's going, bat him second or third. But, like, to me, I don't care about the first inning. I could care less. I want to know when we're in a close game and we're facing that elite guy out of the pen, I want them beating TA and Eloy 1-2. That's why I want them beating.
And I'm not calling Vaughn up because I got to get this correct with Ray. I'm not calling Vaughn a bad player. I'm just saying White Sox fans are overrating this guy. Just be honest. He's not. I guarantee you, he may have 130 home run season. And people putting these 30 home run numbers on, I don't agree with that. And it's not a bad thing why I don't agree with it. I just think he's a line drive hitter. And I think he's a gap-to-gap hitter, which is fine. I think he's a very good hitter. I just don't see him as a prototypical 30 home run guy, which is not a bad thing. And I think he can be a 285 to 300 hitter, which is not bad. I think his on base percentage need to get better. Yeah, and I just don't get why you're worried.
It
gotta get better.
I don't know why you think it's got to be better. It's exactly 50 points higher. That's like the standard industry. 271, 321.
No. For you to be a good hitter, I'm sorry, you cannot have the 315, 317 on base percentage. No,
it was 321, and it's exactly 50 points higher than his bat.
321.
So if he hits 285, now he's 335, 340. Like the difference is what you look at.
Got to get higher, and his walks to me got to be a little bit higher as well. I mean,
the last thing you want to do is take a guy that hits the ball as hard as
he got 30. He had 31 walks, 31, 98 strikeouts.
I agree with Eric what he just said. Say it again, Eric.
Yeah, you don't take a guy that's leading the league in a hard hit percentages when he puts the ball in play and be like, Matt, can I talk or you want to talk over me?
You just complained about Robert swinging and hitting ball.
I said Robert Chase.
That's on the outside, and you talking about Vaughn swinging, he does the same thing almost.
I don't know, though, Mac. I always hear you talking about how TA is the best hitter on the team, and you don't complain about his ridiculously low walk rate, and the fact that his OBP is higher than
Yeah, that's
What's
what
his
I'm trying to
base
say.
percentage though? 340.
Well, but why is it higher? Because he has a higher batting average. Like
Because he can hit.
the differential in Vaughn in that 50 points is perfect. That's what you're looking for. And the
Vaughn
last thing you're ever going to
do. I hate to say it, break it to you. Vaughn is not is a TA caliber hitter as far as swinging the bat. No.
He'll have a higher OPS every year.
No.
Slugging will. He'll beat him every year in slug.
I don't know about that. TA didn't have 500 slugging seasons.
He had
two.
Oh, 2020?
Yeah, go look at it.
Yeah, I ain't talking about
2020.
I'm not talking 2020 as a season.
800 OPS seasons. Wake me up when Vaughn get an 800 OPS season.
One, unless you're counting 2020, which is not a season.
No. He had one. More than
well, let's just leave it.
How many of those seasons did he have, Mac, before he got to what age Vaughn is right now?
Yeah, that's what you just don't get. That's why I hate the numbers. You don't get it. You don't take a guy.
Vaughn has been playing baseball longer than Tim Anderson. What if Tim Anderson started playing baseball at the age Vaughn did? How much farther along would Tim Anderson be?
There is a growth curve in the big leagues, regardless of when they started. There's a growth curve in the big leagues.
Yeah. Well, let's leave it there.
TA has had 800 OPS seasons, by the way.
You can never leave it there when Mac is on.
I can't leave it there with Mac.
Yeah, you can never stop. You can never stop.
Yeah, but Daniel, you should pop into one of the spaces sometimes. We'll be going to freaking damn near midnight.
Hey, Ray, I got one more thing to say. Check this out. TA had his worst season last year, still batted 300 and had a 108 OPS plus. And people raving about Vaughn 111 OPS plus. And that was TA worst season.
It was Vaughn's second season.
As far as says he's
what was TA's second season in OPS?
Like that was Vaughn's second season.
What was TA's second season OPS plus? Can you read that one to me, please, while you're on there?
Yeah. What was 2018? What was it?
Can you read that one out loud, Mac? Can we get that on recording? Yeah. What was TA's second season OPS plus?
He ain't gonna say it. All good. But Daniel, I want to thank you for coming on. I did not want you to be on this long. I really didn't. We just, I don't know, time get away. We get to talking baseball. We all baseball junkies. So
we get to talk. I appreciate you guys having me. It's been a long time. We've been talking about getting together on here and whatnot, and I'm glad we finally got the chance. I'd like to talk to you guys again.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah. Let me just say thank you. You know, you and I have talked for a few years now. I've been on Twitter, and I just want to say again, what a cool thing you do for the kids down there with the housing and putting them up and sponsoring them, buying meals and traveling to see them and all that stuff. I think that's great, man. I think that's great.
Dude, it's awesome, man. You know what? I get more out of it than they do. Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, now I know the families appreciate what you guys do, you and Eric, and all that good stuff. And maybe one day in the future I could find myself fortunate enough to do it if I could, you know what I mean? But moving from South Carolina kind of took one little piece of thing that I love to do was to run up to Charlotte, because it was like an hour drive, and go see the Knights play or slide up to Kannapolis or whatever. So it's them days are over with for me, but I kind of live vicariously through your page, Daniel. Mac, thank you for coming.
Might be a good thing for you, Ray.
What?
That you moved from South Carolina and ain't able to go to Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the big club now all the time. So we shall see.
And plus, you ain't got to send me bad information about guys like Yohan Moncada.
Oh my Thank you, Mac, for coming on with us. I really wanted you here because this is baseball, and I know how much you love to talk with it and talk about the Sox. And we shall see what the White Sox do this year. And I'm looking forward to just seeing what we do come, because we're gonna be in the building April 3rd. So March 30th is opening day, but April 3rd we're gonna be in the building. And we're gonna have an opening day.
You, right?
Yeah, you're gonna be with me opening day.
They told me hot dogs and drinks on you. That's what they say.
That's the word. That's what it is. It don't even matter. But once again, this is the Juke Joint, and we're gonna go ahead and cut the lights off in this biatch.
Good night, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
See you, Dan.
Appreciate it.